Am I the a-hole for refusing to call for pizza and telling my daughter if she wants pizza she can call the place? My daughter is 15 and stays home by herself sometimes. We have a money fund for these days so she can order some food if she doesn't want to make herself dinner. Really simple. My daughter has anxiety and doesn't need meds according to her doctors. She was on the lowest dose and it was way too much for her. Really, we work on confidence boosting counselor. Yesterday my wife and I were not home. My daughter wanted to order some pizza. The place she wanted pizza from only does phone calls for orders. She texted me and asked me to call the place and make an order. I told her no and she can call them herself. That money is on the table or she can make herself a sandwich for dinner. I came home and my daughter were pissed I didn't make the call for her. My daughter's anxiety made it difficult for her to call. My wife is upset I don't help. I think both of them are being over the top. I explained that there was food at home, she could have ordered from somewhere else or just ate at home. They both think I am jerks and I told her she needs to be able to make a phone call or she is going to run into many roadblocks. I also pointed out that not everyone has online ordering.
Not the a-hole. No therapist worth their pay will tell someone with social anxieties to push any required interactions off to their partner or parent. This was a teachable moment and a chance to face her fears. It will only get worse if she continues to avoid it.
Her counselor literally has told us to push her to do stuff that isn't high stakes. I don't think pizza is high stakes at all.
Agreed. The biggest a-hole here is the wife, not the kid. You're not on the same page, and you should always have a united front with your kids.
Personally, I believe my wife's coddling of her is what caused this issue. She has coddled her so much and usually me not coddling causes a fight.
Not the a-hole. I know of someone who went to college many states away. She had a lot of anxiety and relied on her parents for everything. When she got to college, she didn't know how her dining dollars worked. She was too scared to go down to the cafeteria and ask someone. So she called her mom. Her mom didn't know, so she just started ordering her daughter groceries to be delivered to her, spending more money and enforcing her daughter's need for a social crutch. Your job as a parent is to prepare your child for the world, to make them independent and a functioning member of society. Your wife is not doing your daughter any favors by treating her like a delicate flower. Also, just a suggestion. If your daughter wants something when you are gone, make her call you and not text you. It might help her get over her phone anxiety if she starts by calling people she knows.
No. Part of learning to deal with anxiety is by doing low-pressure things like this. It would have been incredibly anxiety-provoking to call, but she might have felt slightly more comfortable with it once she was able to do it successfully with no negative repercussions. That goes a long way to help rid the flight aspect of anxiety.
I agree with this. I used to be like the daughter and sometimes will still avoiding calling if I can. I didn't know it was anxiety at the time, but I knew it was a problem and sometimes it couldn't be avoided, e.g., on a class trip where we stopped for fast food. Heck, I'm almost 50 now and had a panicky moment earlier this month when I couldn't understand a waitress because she was speaking Spanish and I don't. But I pushed through it. OP is absolutely correct that she is going to have some huge roadblocks if she doesn't deal with this. Maybe he was a little gruff and could soften his delivery, but he needs to get his wife and daughter's docs on board with the daughter pushing her boundaries.
When I was a little kid, like 5 or 6, I really wanted a cookie at the mall. My mom said I could, but only if I went up and ordered it myself. I was terrified. I cried. I didn't want to do it. Eventually, my mom convinced me it would be okay. I was shaking when I got to the counter. I got the cookie. It is so important to teach young people that it is okay to be uncomfortable but try anyways. You pushed her out of her comfort zone in a safe way. I think you are not the a-hole, but your wife kind of is for not having your back on this. Your daughter is going to need to be able to talk to strangers in just a few short years. You should probably set some reasonable goals as a family that will help her overcome this anxiety.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to make breakfast for my father-in-law? I, 25 female, recently got married, 8 months, to my 28-year-old husband. My father-in-law came to visit 3 days ago, and when he arrived late at night, I was shocked because we were not expecting him until a day ago. I'm heavily pregnant and I could easily pop any time from now. My energy levels have dropped significantly and I can barely do any housework. Now the day he arrived I was lucky because I had prepared the meal in bulk for meal prep as I'm doing this to save energy. So I served him the food and it wasn't a problem at all. Now fast forward to today, my father-in-law has an interview, but last night both him and my husband didn't let me know what time he was going to leave. I was woken up early morning by my husband to iron his father's clothes. I didn't want to, but I did it. I haven't been well lately due to pregnancy and getting out of bed is a bit hard. My husband then went on to scroll on his phone whilst I did the ironing. He didn't bother to at least boil water for his father's breakfast. After I was done ironing he asked why I hadn't made breakfast for his father and went on to say I don't love his relatives. I went back to bed and told him I wasn't well and that I wasn't going to make breakfast. He went on to say he can't wait for me to go to my parents. After I give birth, I meant to stay at my parents and learn a few things about the baby, because I've become useless.
He went on to say he can't wait for me to go to my parents. After I give birth, I'm meant to stay at my parents and learn a few things about the baby, because I've become useless. Oh dear, not the a-hole at all. This is so awful to read. Your husband is a giant a-hole. You are getting treated like a servant, a maid, and not an equal partner. Is there any chance that you can go to your parents or good friends? I would not stay in this hostile environment. Please visit the sub/abusive relationships for more information how to leave this marriage. You deserve a partner who is loving and respecting you. No one should call another human useless. This is an abusive relationship and it will only get worse by now. I hope you find the strength in this difficult situation to leave.
I would go to my parents and never come back. Opie can literally give birth anytime and her husband can't do something simple like heating up food? Opie needs to leave 100% after she gives birth. She would be expected to do all of the child care and chores.
Not the a-hole. You do realize that if father-in-law is interviewing that he intends to live there, right? He didn't come for a visit, he will be moving in. There are plans for while you are gone to parents. If you are allowed to come back, it will be to father-in-law having moved in and husband insisting you cater to both of them while caring for newborn also. Talk to mom, see if she'd be willing to come to your house to stay after baby is born to help also with husband's attitude.
Hard pass on getting her mother to try to deal with the husband. We can't control other people's actions, only our own. So trying to change the husband's attitude will not work. She'd be setting herself up for failure.
You shouldn't have ironed those clothes. You should have let your hubby or his dad do it. But at least you didn't cook. When you go to your parents, please don't come back to hubby's. Take that time at your parents to plan your life as divorced, single mother. Hubby has shown you who he really is. It's only gonna get worse. And unless you signed up to be treated like a bang maid, I'd suggest you get out of this marriage now. You are the a-hole to yourself if you stay with this man.
Oh honey, not the a-hole. In absolutely no way. Your husband is showing his true colors, you should believe it. It most likely will get worse. Your marriage is not a partnership, it's more like you're his maid. He is supposed to care for you like you care for him. Please go to your parents now and think about the life you want to live. Do you want a team or do you want to be his slave? Wish you all the best.
What do you think of these stories? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories.